hey, welcome to the show. Secondhand blasters, let's go. Gonna break it down, piece by piece. Nerf's got a secret we'll release.
What is up, Nerf Nation? It is your boy Normatico, and it is the end of 2024, which means it is time for us to look back at the year and see what hit and what missed of our blaster releases this year. Now, in my opinion, 2024 saw some really good hits from all three of the major blaster corporations, as well as some of the, let's say, performance blaster corporations, and some blasters that were kind of lackluster, but we're going to focus on the top 10 blasters of the year. Now, please understand that my top 10 list does not rate them by performance, it rates them on what impressed me the most about these blasters. So let's go ahead and start off with number 10. Now, Nerf Rival actually only had 2 blaster releases this year, and both were okay. You had the Challenger and the Mirage. Now, the Challenger was essentially just a strife, and it came with a banana-style magazine, which only worked on the Challenger, and I believe the Finisher. So it kind of lied to me, and that kind of upset me, and because of that, it is not number 10. Number 10 is, in fact, the Mirage. The Mirage reaches number 10, in my opinion, because of the fact that it has consistent performance. It consistently was hitting in the high 90s, over 100 a couple of times during my testing with the AccuRival rounds, which is pretty good for a rival blaster Springer, especially when it does not have any modifications in it whatsoever. The other cool part about the Mirage that I really enjoyed is that if you are playing in an HVC situation or you are in a battle where you don't have any extra magazines on you, you could use the top reach load mechanism to load up rival rounds that you pick up on the ground, which is really great, so that way you don't have to carry all the magazines on your body all the time. It is also a good primary and a secondary blaster for a pistols round, so because of that, I recommend picking one up. Currently, they are on sale for only $14.99, but the average price for those is around $19.99. So go ahead and pick one up during one of the holiday sales. I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed with that blaster. We're going to go to number 9. Number 9 is also part of the Hasbro family with the Nerf N Series. Now, N Series actually had a lot of misses in 2024. Of course, it is the first year. Who knows? Maybe next year they might release a Strife N Series, but the N Series blaster that hit number 9, in my opinion, and kind of saved the N Series for this year, was the Sprinter. Loosely modeled after the Nerf Raven, which, if you've seen my videos, you know I love me a Nerf Raven. Right there. The Sprinter actually comes with a 16-round magazine, and it is pretty fun. Now, the N-Series darts, the N1 darts, are not the most accurate with it, so if you chose to, you can actually print out a kit to convert it into a half-dart blaster, which is what everybody wanted anyways, but there you have it. The blaster itself stock is capable of hitting upwards of 90 to almost 100 FPS. In fact, when you load IMRs in there, it will surpass 100 FPS, and it is LiPo capable if you know how to do a simple rewire. Because of the fact that you could actually modify this blaster, and the fact that it does have a very good performance out of box, it does hit number 9 in my opinion, and it kinda is the only N series blaster that you'll see on my list, so there you have it. Number 8, we are actually going to change companies and go visit Zuru with X-Shot. Now, X-Shot actually had some pretty solid blasters this year. In fact, I cannot really think of any of them that I did not like. But let's go and actually take with the one that surprised me at number 8, because this blaster, for the price of it, is way too good. In fact, it does not deserve to be as good as it is, in my opinion. We're talking about the Blaster Corn. Now, the Blaster Corn retails at $7.97, and for $7.97, you are getting a single-shot breech-loaded blaster that hits over 80 FPS. In fact, during my testing, it averaged around 85 FPS using standard-length air pocket darts. Yeah, for a $8 blaster, hitting that range for backyard play, for indoor play, it is fun. Not to mention, it has a design that is going to please any gender out there. Is it a boy blaster? Yes. Is it a girl blaster? Absolutely. Is it a trans-friendly blaster? Yes, it certainly is. Are you a fan of Deadpool? He likes unicorns? You should like the Blaster Corn. Also, the really cool part about this blaster is that once you do pull the trigger, if you decide to pull the trigger again multiple times, it flaps a little wings, and that way you could just add insult to injury when you tag somebody with a blast from a unicorn's horn. Number 7 is another X-Shot blaster, and it actually saw a release of the Insanity series. In fact, this was part of the Horrorfire series, the Horrorfire Insanity series, and that is the Doomsday. Now, the Doomsday is not anything necessarily to write home about performance-wise. However, it does hit my list because I had so much fun using this thing. Is it a shotgun? Yes. Does it have a revolver? Absolutely. Does it have a cool little spinning blade that circles around every single time you prime it? Yes, it does. Because of the aesthetics and the total horror insanity theme of this thing, it does actually hit the heartstrings for me because I'm a horror junkie, and because of the performance and just the absolute joy I had using this and doing the review, it easily gets number 7 on my list. Moving away from Zuru for a moment, we're actually going to focus towards Buzz-Bee toys because Buzz-Bee actually had a few releases this year, but there was one that actually hit this list, and I will explain why. The hobby community. We love our blasters. We do enjoy our 3D printed blasters. In fact, one of the darlings of the community designed by Taffy was this skewer. Now, the skewer itself, it is a pretty pricey blaster. I actually have one on my wall right here. And it can retail in the $80 to $90 range. You can get a kit and 3D print the parts yourself to do it cheaper. But that being said, it's a fun blaster to use, and you are blasting like it is 2010 with a single pullback load magazine, and you are firing darts at beyond pro levels. Buzz-Bee actually paid Taffy for the design, and they produced a injection molded version of it called the Twist Fury. Now, when I say it's a version of the skewer, it is because quite literally it is a skewer. The only difference is that the internals are all plastic as opposed to the metal internals that you get in a regular skewer. But with a simple 3D printed kit and a brass tubing, you can see, if you saw my video, that I was able to get it to perform at skewer numbers by simply adding some K25 coils in there. So it is a very decent blaster for $15, and for less than the cost of a nice meal out, you got yourself a high-performing blaster that is not going to break as easily as, say, a 3D printed one that drops to the ground. That being said, don't drop your 3D printed blasters to the ground because they could possibly break. Number 5, we're going to switch over to Dart Zone. Now, Dart Zone has consistently been really good this year. However, there have been quite a few that are not on this list because I have had some issues with them, and a couple that I'm just like, okay, why? Who asked for this? But let's start for the one that actually did make the list first. We are talking about the Aeon Pro X. Now, licensed from Dart Zone under the Adventure Force brand by Walmart, the Aeon Pro X is what I would call a not quite bargain blaster because of its low price. Currently, it is on sale for $19.99. When it came out, it was retail for $24.97. At $25, you get a pro level blaster capable of hitting over 150 FPS. Now, there were a couple of issues with this blaster in my opinion, and I will share them really quick. However, you might agree with me if you actually own one of these. They sacrificed one of the benefits of the Aeon Pro, and that is the top load. You can slam fire, which is kind of nice, but you do kind of miss being able to top load because of the fact that now you actually have to eject the magazine to load it, and if you are in a combat situation where you're scrounging for darts, it kind of slows you down a little bit. Now, it does also have a stock point in the back that you can attach a buttstock to, which is really nice, and it makes priming so much easier when you have an extendable stock on there, because that way you can just brace and slam fire without having to use as many muscles. Because of that, the Aeon Pro easily gets to the number 5 spot. Moving on to number 4, we are going to hop back over to X-Shot because they actually released a blaster this year that was their second ever flywheel blaster, and they deserve a mention on this list for it because anyone who actually modifies a Strife and makes it better stock, in my opinion, deserves to be in one of the lists. Obviously, the Maxum is going to make it, but first, let's talk about the Clip Mania. X-Shot released this blaster towards the tail end of 2024. It is on sale right now at Walmart for $25, and it is part of their Insanity series. In fact, in order to build the ultimate Insanity blaster, you should buy this blaster. It does come with 3 magazines that can hold up to 15 rounds, and a plethora of darts, as well as additional dart storage and clip storage as well on the actual blaster. Yes, I did say clips because that is what they call them. They are called the Clip Mania for a reason. Yes, they're magazines, I know, but sue me. Now, the Clip Mania itself does perform better than a stock Strife out of the box. In fact, with regular batteries, you should be getting around 80 to 90 FPS. When you lipo that sucker like I did, you will hit easily 150 FPS and above. There's actually already a cage out there by Buff Daddy Nerf. Go ahead and stay tuned to my channel. You will be seeing a mod guide and in-depth review of this blaster shortly. Now, number 3. I did mention the Clip Mania as number 4 because it is a Strife build. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at the Strife build that should have been, that we all wanted when the Strife X came out. We are talking about the Maxum Pro. Now, Dartzone actually released the Maxum Pro, and can we say shots fired towards Hasbro? Because when Hasbro released the Strife X, they said, oh, this is going to be the ultimate Strife blaster. It is a Pro Strife, and they dropped the price tag of $120 approximately after taxes. Yeah, not cool. However, when Dartzone decided to release the Maxim, they said, let's go ahead and actually make this as good as the Strife X, in fact, possibly better, and let's only release it at $40. So for a third of the price of the Strife, you get a blaster that performs just as well as a Strife X. And oh yeah, do you want to use it on AA's? You can. Do you want to use a lipo? You can do that too. It's already ready for it. And if you want to modify our blaster, Dartzone has basically told you, guess what? It uses a Strife cage. And you can use a worker full auto kit on this thing. Go ahead, mod away. We want you to. As opposed to Hasbro that's always like, please don't look underneath the hood of our car. Please. Yeah, because of that, Dartzone takes number 3 with the Maxum Pro. Way to go, Dartzone. Now, number 2. This one was hard for me to decide, and I'm not going to give it a tie because of the fact that they are both kind of the same blaster in my opinion. Yeah, they really are. However, the Nexus Pro X wins over the Striker 2. Not that I dislike the Striker 2. I think that the Max Striker 2 is an amazing blaster. You get a drum magazine if you want it, but honestly, it's not my biggest thing. I would probably just use a stick mag, and because of that, I'm giving it to the Nexus Pro X. Now, the Nexus Pro X actually took performance to a whole new level when it came to retail blasters, because whereas the original Nexus Pro had that slack when you primed it, and it hit around 150 to 170 FPS, the Nexus Pro X, in my original testings, I hit up to 220 FPS using the provided darts. Now, it does average closer to the 205 FPS, but Dartzone's not going to tell you that. And you can actually get an upgrade spring from it. In fact, I recommend ordering the one from Out of Darts, which will get it towards the 250 plus range. So go ahead and do that. If you choose not to do the upgrade spring, go ahead and go to Printables, and my buddy Ghost actually designed the spring spacers for it because he's awesome, and the spring spacers will get you anywhere between 225 to 245 FPS, right below that 250 cap that most games play at for the high cap levels. Because of that, Nexus Pro X, congratulations, you got number 2. Also, Slamfire at 250 FPS? Yes, please. Number 1, and there can only be a number 1. It came out at the very end of 2024, and it almost didn't make the list, mainly because of Out of Darts, our US supplier for worker products, was in shipping limbo. I do not blame Out of Darts for this. Obviously, they cannot control when the shipments get through clearance, get through customs. So I'll give them a pass for the most part. However, Worker, you knocked it out of the park this time. You only released 2 blasters that I know of this year. One of them was kind of, it wasn't bad. It was just disappointing. This one, however, it knocked my socks off. I am talking about the Quinland. Now, the Quinland, spelled K-U-N-L-U-N, it is pronounced Quinland, not Quinlun, like some people want to pronounce it, is a true bolt-action blaster. All metal internals with a very, very sturdy injection molded shell and metal Picatinny rails on the sides and on the top. This blaster, it is capable of hitting 220 FPS right out of the box with its low power spring. Yes, you heard me right. It's low power spring. Now, there have been people who have said that they can hit 300 FPS averages with their 1.6 spring, and I would love to be able to tell you that that is accurate. I cannot attest to that because when Out of Darts decided to ship my blaster, my 1.6 spring went missing. Whether or not it just didn't ship from worker or whether or not somebody from Out of Darts actually just misplaced it when they opened up the box to make sure everything was in there, I do not know. All I know is that it's been over a week since I've emailed, and I am yet to get a confirmation email with an actual tracking number. They said it's on its way, but with holiday shipping, who knows, but I had to get my list out. In the meantime, what I can confirm is that if you buy a 1.8 spring for a Swift, you can actually cut it just right to fit inside of the Quinlan. What I would recommend if you're going to be doing that is that you remove the actual plastic spring mount that is part of the plunger rod and have at it. That is the only way it's going to prime and catch. But when it does, whoa Nelly. The prime does become a little bit more difficult. However, I am clocking 350 FPS and above sometimes depending on the dart and the quality of the dart. Averages are anywhere in the 325 to 360 range. So there you have it. The Quinlan, in my opinion, is the number one blaster. Plus, it's bolt action. I'm a sucker for a good bolt action, and it's a sniper blaster. Let's just be honest. Yeah, if you like to be a sniper, get the Quinlan. Now, I will tell you, the Quinlan is a pricey blaster. In fact, it is probably the priciest blaster on my list, and that is because it is approximately $200. Now, I'm also going to give an honorable mention to one particular blaster. Even though the actual files came out towards the tail end of 2023, the hardware kits became available through Out of Darts early 2024. Silly butts. You silly, silly, silly butts, creator. Yeah, the Alchemist. If I was to make a list and include 3D printed blasters, the Alchemist would definitely be on that list. You designed an amazing blaster. In fact, it is one that I've used a couple of times, and it's fantastic. Probably one of the softest primes I've ever had on a 270 FPS capable blaster. Yes, you heard me right. Out of Darts does say that their top spring can go ahead and actually get anywhere from 225 to 237 in testing. I swapped out the barrel that they send with a Curie barrel, and it boosted the performance into the 270 range using Bamboo 2s. That is up from 237 with the Bamboo 2 darts. So there you have it. If you're going to have an Alchemist, put a Curie barrel in it and see what happens. Just remember, you heard it here, folks. So that is it for my top 10 blasters of 2024. Please stay tuned for another video that'll be coming up where I'm going to be talking about the most disappointing blasters of 2024, and that's going to be up next. But until next time, keep on blasting.